So, Breaking Bad. To really look at this season, you really need to start off at the beginning. I know we're on the 5th season, but we really need to have a look at the first season in order to really get a grasp of what is going on in the overall arc of this season. At the start, Walter was a mild-mannered, law-abiding chemistry teacher who only had a bit of a temper, and that was only really when stuff really pissed him off. Jesse was a pretty light-hearted, obedient drug dealer. Skylar was an annoying yet content housewife. Hank was a jokey, crass DEA agent. Marie was a damaged kleptomaniac for no real reason. And Walter Jr., of course, liked breakfast. Now Walter has become an evil Hispanic drug lord with a cool hat and a cool name. Jesse is a really guilt-stricken, damaged man. Skylar is a depressed, money-laundering Emmy winner. Congratulations, by the way, you deserved it. You were actually a good actress this season. Hank has become an obsessed, crippled workaholic. Marie has come out as a kind, caring, motherly sort of character. And Walter Jr. still likes breakfast. They also introduced a pretty cool, fresh host of new characters, such as Lydia, who's a pretty pretty, timid, fish-out-of-water type. You can tell she really has no idea what she's doing. Like, when she's setting up meetings, she does that whole movie thing where they sit back to back so it looks like they're just talking into thin air so they don't appear suspicious, even though that's actually more suspicious than just sitting down and talking to the person that you're trying not to look suspicious by talking to. And you've also got Todd, who's played by discount Matt Damon. You think I'm kidding? Look at him. And this dude is a complete psychopath. Like, I thought Tuco was bad. This guy just has no soul. This guy is so desensitized that if he played Grand Theft Auto 5, he'd be the Daily Mail's wet dream. But anyways, most of the characters in this show go through something that was laid down in the very first episode, which is a period of growth, decay, and transformation. You just look at any character in this show and they follow that specific law to a T. Mike also gets a bigger role in this, which I was quite a fan of. But this growth, decay, transformation thing is kind of what irritates me so much about this season. Like, as good as it is so amazing, yet at the same time it's so depressing and hard to sit through. Mercifully, the first half of this season at least keeps the same amount of playfulness amongst characters that you're used to. But the second half is just bleak. It's so tough to sit through, yet you're so invested in the plot that you can't help but keep watching even though you're really unsettled by what's going on the screen. I can pick out sequences in this show which have made me the most uncomfortable I've ever felt in any medium. Not the most uncomfortable, but up there, at least. I'll try and be vague for those of you that haven't seen this yet, but if you have, then you'll know what I'm talking about. These sequences are the prison minutes, the death reaction, and the money car. That must have sounded so weird if you haven't seen these episodes yet. But of course, this season also has some of my favourite sequences in the entire show, such as the Crystal Blue Persuasion montage and the train robbery. Although despite the montage being one of my favourite scenes, it really did irritate me how they just completely glossed over 3 months of time, bearing in mind that season 1 through the start of season 5 took place over the span of a year, whereas they literally went through 3 months in a couple minutes. They glanced over another chunk of time during this season, but I think it's okay ultimately because it's paced well and ultimately fits the story. Although I would love to see what happened during those 3 months and the space of time where I don't want to ruin it for you. There was a dubstep music video in this as well. Did I mention that? That was quite funny. What a bizarre thing to just put in the middle of a drama series. This is just random Heisenberginess and then dubstep music. Well, that's something I've never really touched on before. That's the music in this series. It's just so perfectly put together. Every single song in the soundtrack fits with the scene going on and perfectly describes the plot of that episode or that scene. I would have hated to be the person that has to go and find these songs, considering how much stuff he'd have to trawl through just to find the perfect song. Another thing about the season was the rampant symbolism, which, as someone that studies films, I was just nerding all over. The colour of clothing that people wear got explained in a little thing in the background, like over Walt's shoulder during the second episode of the 5th series. It says blue is good and yellow is bad, which shows what people are wearing kind of constitutes what they're doing at that time. People that are wearing blue, for example, are being good people in that space of time, and people that are wearing yellow are doing bad things in that space of time. This isn't always true, but most of the time it fits so perfectly, and Vince Gilligan is a genius. He's an asshole, but he's a genius. He managed to craft the 2 most irritating lines in telly, which just made me scream at my TV in frustration. Like, every time I saw executive producer Vince Gilligan, I was like, I caught up to the latest episode of this series just after I finished the season 4 review, so I really feel your pain, those of you that have been watching this episode by episode. I'm so sorry. It's pretty hard to really talk about this season in detail without giving off any spoilers, so I might as well do a spoiler-filled video about the finale and the things that happened beforehand. Hey, why not? It'll be fun. Here's the TLDR version, though. Fuck you, Vince Gilligan. Also, to all the twats in the right-wing tabloid newspapers that say that Breaking Bad is an awful piece of telly that does nothing but glorify meth use, and when you've never even seen and openly admit to never even seeing a single episode in full. Yeah, I got a Breaking Bad set on my phone, and what of it? So to tie this up in a nice little bow, just like the series finale, would I recommend this to you? Maybe? If you like happy endings and prefer them over bittersweet or sad endings, then I would recommend you stop at the end of season 4 or cut off just before Hank goes to a dump at the end of season 5A and provides us with one of the biggest and literally biggest oh shit moments in history. In that case, I'd leave this one out, even though you'd be doing yourself a massive disservice to not watch this season. Seriously. If you aren't one of those people, then why aren't you watching this season already? The series just ended, and the only hope we have of a return is a Saul Goodman spin-off, or a hope that Aaron Paul's character in Need for Speed turns out to be Jesse Pinkman after the events of Breaking Bad. Come to think of it, that would make a lot of sense. So what is your favourite TV show that isn't Breaking Bad? Because I need something to fill the void, please. I'm Charlie, and...